Japan's daring monetary experiment, which attracted interest from around the world for almost 10 years, has reached a critical turning point. Many are concerned about Japan's economy and its potential effects on the rest of the world as the country's central bank reduces its extraordinary stimulus programs. What caused this significant change in policy? How can Japan handle the challenges posed by a post-stimulus world? Come explore the complexities of Japan's economic journey with us in this engrossing film, as we examine the potential obstacles and worldwide ramifications of this momentous shift. Press play to learn the fascinating tale of Japan's big money experiment and what's coming next. Don't miss it. Japan has led the world in an unparalleled monetary experiment to revive its flagging economy for almost 10 years. In order to achieve its goals of inflation and economic expansion, the Bank of Japan, BOJ, has used a wide range of unconventional monetary instruments, from aggressive quantitative easing programs to negative interest rate policies. But as the BOJ starts to wind down its enormous stimulus program, concerns about Japan's economy's future course and possible effects on international financial markets surface. In this video, we look at the possibilities and difficulties that lie ahead as we consider the ramifications of Japan's monetary experiment coming to a conclusion. The legacy of Abenomics. The economic program known as Abenomics, which was led by former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, has a complicated history that stretches over almost 10 years and has had a lasting impact on Japan's economy. Abenomics, which consists of three main pillars: structural reforms, fiscal stimulus, and aggressive monetary easing, was designed to fight deflation and revitalize Japan's stagnating economy. In an attempt to boost inflation and economic growth, the Bank of Japan, BOJ, initiated previously unheard of quantitative easing measures and expanded its balance sheet through large-scale asset purchases. The effectiveness and longevity of Abenomics' monetary policy component have been questioned in light of the elusiveness of meeting the ambitious 2% inflation target, even in spite of early gains in depreciating the value of the yen and driving up asset values. Fiscal stimulus programs were put in place in addition to monetary easing to increase domestic demand and aid in the revival of the economy. A period of sluggish economic growth was facilitated by tax incentives and infrastructure spending, which were intended to boost consumer spending and investment. However, Japan's enormous public debt, still among the highest among major economies, has raised questions about its long-term effects. Furthermore, structural changes meant to boost innovation, boost productivity, and tackle demographic issues like aging populations and decreased labor force participation have advanced more slowly than first projected. The transformative influence of Abenomics on Japan's economy was limited since deeper structural reforms in areas like agriculture, healthcare, and regional regeneration remained elusive, despite some progress being achieved in areas like corporate governance and labor market flexibility. Despite its flaws, Abenomics was successful in creating the framework for additional reforms and policy changes, which helped Japan experience a period of comparatively stable and moderate economic development. The legacy of Abenomics acts as a warning about the difficulties and complexities involved in putting comprehensive economic plans into practice. As Japan enters a post-Abenomics era, authorities have a difficult time resolving persistent structural issues while navigating uncertainties in the world economy. Japan has the chance to steer towards sustainable growth and prosperity by learning from the triumphs and disappointments of Abenomics. This will ensure that the legacy of this momentous economic experiment will continue to influence the nation's economic trajectory going forward. Transitioning to a post-stimulus era, there are many chances and difficulties for policymakers to reshape Japan's economic environment as the nation enters a post-stimulus period. Attention is turning to fiscal policy and structural reforms as important drivers of sustained growth as the Bank of Japan, BOJ, starts to unwind its huge stimulus measures and transition towards a more sustainable policy framework. In order to solve long-standing structural issues including poor productivity growth, changing demographics, and persistent deflationary pressures, policymakers must strike a careful balance. Furthermore, building resilience and adaptation will be crucial to ensuring a seamless transition to the post-stimulus period as Japan struggles with the COVID-19 pandemic's aftereffects as well as global economic risks, such as growing geopolitical tensions and trade conflicts. Without the BOJ's extraordinary monetary support, policymakers are forced to depend more and more on fiscal measures to maintain stability and economic growth. Fiscal stimulus plans with specific goals of increasing investment in technology, healthcare, education, and infrastructure might assist improve domestic demand and lessen the negative consequences of an aging workforce and declining population. Furthermore, policies that support small and medium-sized businesses, SMEs, innovation, and entrepreneurship can boost output and support long-term economic expansion. In order to overcome long-standing inefficiencies in important industries like healthcare, agriculture, and labor market regulation, authorities must also give structural reforms top priority. Doing so will open up new growth opportunities and strengthen Japan's economy's resistance to external economic headwinds. Moreover, long-term economic development in Japan will depend on creating a climate that is favorable to private sector investment and entrepreneurship as the country moves into a post-stimulus future. It is possible to draw in investment, encourage innovation, and generate new job possibilities by streamlining regulatory procedures, cutting red tape, and improving corporate governance standards. Furthermore, by funding human capital development initiatives like education and training programs, Japan can maintain its competitiveness in the global economy by increasing worker productivity and flexibility. Japan can effectively traverse the challenges of the post-stimulus era and set the stage for long-term economic growth and prosperity by adopting fiscal stimulus measures, enacting structural reforms, and cultivating a vibrant and inventive business climate. Navigating global economic uncertainties. In the transition to a post-stimulus era, Japan faces a significant challenge in navigating global economic uncertainty. Policymakers need to be alert and proactive in preserving Japan's economic resilience in light of the escalating geopolitical tensions, trade disputes, and the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Japan's export-driven economy is at risk from growing geopolitical tensions in important areas like the Asia-Pacific, which could interfere with supply chains and market access. A full-fledged trade war is also a possibility due to ongoing trade disputes between major economies, especially between the US and China, which would increase uncertainty and volatility in international financial markets. Furthermore, the COVID-19 pandemic's aftereffects are still having an impact on Japan's economy, as new strains and the reappearance of diseases pose threats to both public health and attempts at economic recovery. Even while Japan has implemented vaccination campaigns and achieved great strides in stopping the virus's spread, there are still serious concerns about the possibility of further waves and the necessity for additional containment measures. Furthermore, the pandemic's economic effects, such as weakened consumer sentiment, labor market difficulties, and supply chain disruptions, continue to negatively impact Japan's growth prospects, highlighting the significance of targeted fiscal stimulus measures and supportive policies to promote a strong and inclusive recovery. Apart from the uncertainties posed by geopolitics and pandemics, Japan also has to deal with the normalization of monetary policy in other major countries, especially the US. Exporters and financial stability may face difficulties as a result of capital flight from Japan and exchange rate volatility brought on by the possibility of tighter monetary policy and higher interest rates in the US. Furthermore, Japan's economic policymaking must take a forward-looking and flexible stance in light of the ramifications of the changing global economic dynamics, which include increased protectionism, technology upheavals, and demographic shifts. In the post-stimulus period, Japan can protect its economic resilience and traverse the uncertainties of the global economic environment by keeping lines of communication open with its international partners, stepping up cooperation on global economic challenges, and adopting a flexible policy approach. Japan is currently experiencing a pivotal moment in its economic history as it leaves behind an era of unparalleled monetary stimulus and enters a post-stimulus phase characterized by novel prospects and challenges. Even though Abenomics' legacy has been successful in promoting economic growth and reducing deflationary pressures, it also emphasizes the necessity of ongoing policy changes and reforms to address structural weaknesses and guarantee long-term prosperity. The Bank of Japan is starting to gradually normalize monetary policy, and decision-makers need to balance promoting economic recovery with resolving structural issues that have existed for a long time. This entails giving fiscal stimulus plans top priority in order to increase domestic demand, putting structural changes into place in order to improve productivity and competitiveness, and creating an environment that is favorable to business in order to promote entrepreneurship and innovation. Moreover, in the face of growing international economic risks such as escalating geopolitical tensions, trade disputes, and the ongoing COVID-19 epidemic, Japan needs to continue being alert and flexible in order to protect its economic resilience. Navigating the uncertainty of the global economic landscape will require bolstering resilience to external shocks, promoting equitable growth, and strengthening cooperation with foreign partners. Furthermore, investing in human capital development and fostering diversity and inclusion will be crucial in sustaining social cohesion and generating sustainable growth as Japan faces demographic problems like an aging population and decreased worker participation. With an eye on the future, Japan has the chance to take advantage of its advantages in innovation, technology, and human capital to steer the world in the direction of a more resilient, inclusive, and sustainable future. Through the adoption of structural changes, promotion of innovation-driven growth, and bolstered cooperation with foreign allies, Japan can surmount the obstacles posed by the post-stimulus era and emerge from it more robust and resilient than ever. The lessons Japan has learned from its economic journey will surely influence future economic policy and governance, both in Japan and globally, as the world monitors its next steps. Subscribe now to our channel and stay informed about the latest developments in Japan's economic landscape. From insightful analyses of policy shifts to expert discussions on global economic trends, our videos provide valuable insights that will keep you ahead of the curve.